people that obviously now just know me as the camera girl,
Yes.
but don't actually know that I ever played or was an elite athlete.
At a very high level, right?
Yeah, it's just something I never really talked about.
Yeah.
Had a car accident and I had to learn to walk again and things like that. So I figured like if I can get through this, then I can get through the next thing.
How do you even get on Sony's radar to begin with?
Oh my God, there's like thousands of people that would have gone for this and they picked me. I just couldn't do mediocre because I was so used to doing something that not everybody did.
Today on the Kicking It Pod, we have Joanne Stephan. She has been a creative full-time for over 10 years now. She is the owner of Lime Blue Media, and she is also a Sony Digital Imaging Advocate. I've always wanted to know what it's like to be a part of this Sony community. I always see their workshops and their meetups being promoted by all these really well-established creators that I look up to, and Jo being one of them. We also talk about her professional tennis career. At one point, Jo was ranked number 2 in Australia until her career was literally taken away from her overnight. I can tell that these experiences and the lessons that she learned through tennis have carried over into her creative career, and I think it plays a big role into how she's become so successful at what she does and why a lot of us look up to her. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to sharing this. I'm so grateful that Jo took the time and was open and willing to share so much of her story. I got so much out of this, and I know that you guys will too. So hope you enjoy this as much as I did. They call us introverts.
I know, yeah.
Would you
I'm introverted to a point.
Yep.
But I'm by no means an alpha of any kind. But I did this test in my old job when I worked at the university. It's like they got us all in for a day, like all of marketing, and they did this whole business type. I don't even know what it's called, but that assess you and your personality and what type of
I think
work.
I've heard of these.
Yeah, it's like what type of personality are you? What type of role would you be? Would you be a leader, a doer, or something? I can't remember.
Yep.
And then one of them was actually, they determine whether you're an introvert or extrovert.
Oh, I want to do one of these.
Yeah.
What'd you
And
get?
I actually sat on the fence.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was the weirdest thing, but there was me and 2 other people in a whole lot of 60 people that did this test.
Yep.
And there was 3 of us that were just
Right in
hybrids.
the middle.
Yeah.
So it depends on the situation.
I think so. I think so. It's very much. I'm just going to dump that.
I feel like you have to, for like, especially in our industry, you have to put yourself in situations where you have to be that person that's very out there and open, like not performative. But
I think so. Yeah. It's very, I think that's where I think a lot of creatives sort of fall over in a way, because you need to be a certain type of personality to get yourself out there. Otherwise, if you don't, you just stay in your little bubble and you just create your stuff, but no one sees it or no one knows about you, because you actually have to make the effort to be in front of the camera and show yourself more. And I think that's all where it comes from, but you got to learn to adapt and try and get yourself out of that comfort zone.
Because it's true. I know heaps of creatives that I see them and I'm like, these guys are really, really, really good. But if you don't share your work and don't put yourself out there, no one knows you exist.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and then vice versa. There are other people that are they're out there, man. Like people just know they're around and they're getting opportunities because of that.
Yeah, that's it. So
how do you find, like, if you sit on the fence, you run these workshops and these events, there are people that rock up to talk to you. What do you like in those situations? Like, do you have to hype yourself up? Do you feel uncomfortable?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah,
I've got to go psych myself up before any event I do.
Yeah. Especially when like the attention's on you.
Yeah, because that's part of the challenge for me and why I guess applied to be a Sony advocate was to just also not only to want to inspire other people and teach. It was also about me trying to get out of my little bubble.
Yeah.
And get in front of people and try and just make conversation.
Wow. So you forced yourself to put in...
I forced myself so bad.
Yeah, that's...
Even though I was petrified.
And when you... So you've been a Sony advocate for almost 4 years now.
Yeah, since 2019.
So those hit you back then when you first... I'm assuming your first couple were a bit scary.
Yep. Yeah.
Compared to what now?
Rate.
Like...
Now, yeah, I guess it depends on what I'm doing. There are certain workshops I run that require more brain power from me to sort of teach and think, and there's a lot of content and processes, especially when I run video workshops. Obviously, as you know, there's a lot more involved with video, so I got to kind of have a bit more of a plan in my head as to what I want to teach and how to teach it. Because it's what you got to sort of remember is to be able to teach something, you got to kind of bring yourself back, because you're at a level where you're here.
Totally.
And you just do it without thinking. But to someone who's just starting or wanting to learn something new for the first time, you've got to kind of bring yourself back down to that level and then go, right, okay, here are the basics. I know I do this without thinking, but how do you actually articulate that to a point where, you know, it makes sense to them?
Yes, because you would know so much that's just like, to you is common knowledge. But if you explain it to like anyone that's just like, just go straight over their head. They're like, I don't even know what she's talking about anymore. Yeah, that's right.
It's like sort of when you try and explain accounting to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Forget it.
True. I think like that a lot when I'm doing this podcast. I always think, I try and imagine myself talking to me when I first started.
Yeah.
And there are times I'll use words or I'll explain things in a way and I'll look back and I'm like, there is no way that guy would have understood. And I'm just saying, oh man, I'm just going to flick this lens on. I'm going to go to these settings, and no one knows what those settings are. And I'm just explaining it within a story, expecting people to know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, cool. Where you're at now, being a Sony Digital Imaging Advocate, that's like a dream job for a lot of people, right? A role, especially people that I know. There's heaps that would really want to be that. How do you even get on Sony's radar to begin with? Like you said, you just applied. Is it something that you just put your name down for?
Yes. At the time, during 2019 was their second intake. So it's a very newish program.
So they do it in like...
Yeah, there's every few years.
Okay.
So I had a mate of mine who knew about it and said, hey, you should apply. Just go for it. Sent me a link to the page.
Yep.
I'm like, okay, I'll give it a go.
Wow.
I hesitated for about a week. I just sat on it. And obviously because of I was really nervous and oh my God, how am I supposed to teach? And I looked into what all the other advocates do, because I have like a Sony Scene website where you have all the advocates and ambassadors profile.
Yes.
And I looked into that and I'm just like,
yeah.
What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Can I do this?
Man.
Oh my God.
Yes.
So a whole week, I think I lost sleep over it.
I can imagine. A lot of us would, for sure. Yeah.
And then I thought, you know what? YOLO, just go for it.
Yes.
And apply. So I submitted my portfolio, applied. Yeah, you fill out forms and stuff online. And then within probably a month, someone got back to me and said, you got through to the next round.
Wow.
We like your portfolio. We think you've got, a lot of creativity, and, the genre that you're in is it's a real niche. Okay, cool. So the next thing was we had to submit a video.
Yep.
And answer some questions as to why you want to be an advocate.
Yeah, in a video.
See, and they wanted it raw.
Okay.
So literally off your phone, like no editing.
Yeah, cool.
So that took me 2 days.
Yep.
To set up a room and just sort of sit there and practice.
Yep. Outside your comfort zone, were you making video? Like, were you putting yourself in front of the camera back then? A little bit. I sort of just started YouTube. Okay, yeah, cool.
And I thought, I got to try. I think it was like at the same time.
Okay.
So it kind of one thing fueled the other. All right, so I applied, and then a few months later, I heard back and said, yeah, you got selected.
Wow.
Like, oh.
How did you feel?
I think my heart rate went to like 300.
Yeah. So what have I gotten myself into?
Yeah, I got a blood pressure monitor at home. And I had to I just check it at that moment.
Wow. I feel like, were you nervous or did it give you confidence?
It gave me confidence. I mean, yeah, putting the nerves aside, I was very excited.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, oh my God, there's like thousands of people that would have gone for this.
Yes.
And they picked me. So there must be something about me that they like or want to share with the rest of the community.
Yep.
I don't know. It's probably a question you got to ask them now.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like it would feel great. Like a lot of the obstacles that I think come with being a creative is confidence. Like being afraid to share your work and not knowing whether people are going to like it or being accepted. I've thought about this many times because it keeps being brought up time and time again, like imposter syndrome. It's like, I'm not good enough. I think, and I spoke about it in like the last episode, is a lot of us, most of us, I think that I've come across, we're like self-taught. We've learned things on YouTube. We just picked up a camera and we figured it out. It's very scary to go from that to like charging people. Like you think you're going to get caught out. It's like people are going to find out I learned by myself. I don't have a certificate. And it's very hard to gain confidence when you don't have any sort of like people on the outside saying, hey, you're actually good enough.
Yeah.
Right. So to be able to have Sony say, your work's great, we want you to be on our team. I feel like that's like all the confidence a creative would want, like a need to.
Yeah. So no, you're right. It's at that point, I think my mindset shifted as well.
Yes.
And I just sort of had to go, right, let's just get this small YouTube channel going. Let's try and figure out how I'm going to teach people again.
Yes.
Because I used to be a tennis coach.
Okay.
It's a long story, but
yes.
I coached for a couple of years.
Okay.
And again, it was the same thing, playing at elite level and then having to come back down to basics.
To teach it to people that are just starting out.
Yeah, you kind of have to. So I kind of took a leaf out of that page of myself and went, you just got to do the same thing here and try and really just make it easy for people to understand.
Yes.
And have fun, I guess, at the same time.
That's probably the most important, right?
Yeah.
Because when you're not having fun, that's when you get in your head and you start not enjoying it.
Yeah.
And I always think if you're not enjoying something, you're not going to do it for a very long time.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
What's that saying? If you love something so much, you never work a day in your life.
That's true. Yeah. And it comes with enjoyment. Some people force themselves to do things that they just hate. And I don't think it lasts ever.
No.
I see it a lot. I've seen it a lot. Before doing this, I've been a creative for 5 years. Before that, I was a personal trainer for 15. Mm-hmm. And the most common thing that I used to see is people doing like exercise programs that they hate. Like they'd start doing a CrossFit program and they hate the gym, they hate CrossFit, or they'll do like some crazy fad diet that they don't like. They'd do it for 8 weeks and just go back to what they were doing before. And the difference is like they just didn't enjoy it. If they found things that they enjoyed, they'd probably stick to it for a long time.
Yeah, you'd commit to it.
Yeah, and I think that's something that is relatable to what we're doing, like in anything really. Like I figured out, I'm sure there's a lot of things in tennis where you're like, man, those same principles apply here. Yeah. So for me, that's one of them that I learned from the gym. I'm like, if you enjoy something, you're going to do it so much longer. And like your longevity, especially if you're trying to make it a career, it's so much more important.
Yeah, it's that consistency. I think that's the biggest thing that separates. It's consistency and the drive and passion to do something is what separates you from everybody else.
Yep. And you just have to keep doing it, right? Because you'd have a lot of these guys come to you. What would be like some of the advice? Is that like the one that you keep harping on with people? Like if someone's starting out and they're like, look, for me, a lot of people just want to become full-time. Like they're working a job that they don't love. And they're like, I want to be a creative. I just don't know how to do it. And the first step is like, how do I get paid to do this? How do I turn this into a full-time career? And then I know a lot of full-timers that are like, how do I become a Sony person.
Yeah.
You know, and like you've achieved a lot of that. Is a lot of it just discipline? Is it networking? Like, what would you?
I'd say, I mean, I can just speak personally from my own experience is, I guess, having been professional athlete and then unfortunately that ending for me due to injury. My biggest goal next was trying to find something that I was passionate about again and that I could really just dive into 100% and enjoy. So I think for anyone who's in, you know, if they're in a 9-to-5 job that they don't like and they've picked up a camera and they really just love just getting out there, creating content, the thing that I would say is that you just got to build a portfolio first. So it doesn't matter what camera you have at that point. If you've got something, even if it's a basic one, just get out, make content, and just try and enjoy the process and learn the process.
Yep.
From there, once you start to build your portfolio, you can then, and you're confident in it, because that's the biggest key is, like, I know I'm confident to create. If you said to me, "Hey Joe, here's a brief. We need to make some content for the gym. Here are the deliverables. Here's what we need to do." I'm 100% confident that I can bring that to life for you. But that's because of the skills that I've gained over time.
Yep.
So I think where everyone sort of falls over from what I've experienced is that they think that they need to be at a certain level already to be able to either monetize or charge people or make it a career. But you just got to build yourself up to that point.
Yep.
Or it doesn't even have to be to an elite point. It's to a point where you feel confident to actually create an end product.
Yep.
So that's, I think, the number one goal is getting yourself to a point where you can create an end product for someone. And it doesn't have to be spectacular. You know, you're probably only charging a few $100 or something. And from there, you manage that client's expectation. You go, right, I'm not an extreme professional, but I can get you something that from A to B that's going to at least be something for you to put on your social media and you know, get eyes on your business.
Yep. Which is good, right? Because once you do that once, you can, like, the more times you do it, the more confident you get because you've done it before.
That's
like,
right.
I've already done this for this guy.
That's right.
So I know I can do it for you.
Yeah.
And then the more and more times you do it. So it comes with results, right? If you're not.
Yeah.
And I guess while building a portfolio, you're getting those reps out, right? You know,
That's it. Yeah. It's just like training in the gym.
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree. I felt the same way, actually. And it's weird. For me, 5 years goes by quickly. But I had I got called to do a campaign shoot. It was a few weeks ago.
Yep.
For EHP Labs, like a big supplement company, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's a big opportunity, right? But I turned up and it was the first time I actually, like, I was on this set and there was a brief and there were people, you know, a whole set and models and people organizing stuff. And I felt it was the first time I'd actually been in an environment like that, and I just felt confident. Like, I look at me when I first started and I would have just been in a shell and just done whatever I was told. But for some reason, and I think it's because of what you just said, like, I've done it so many times, I was in that room and every time I noticed that there was any sense of someone being unsure, I was more than open to just make a suggestion. Every time someone was like, should we do this or that? I was like, how about we do this?
Yeah.
And I wasn't afraid to just voice my opinion. And when I left, I was like, why was I so confident in that situation? And I think you're right. It's just because when you do it so many times, you build confidence. I wouldn't have done that years ago. There's no way.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think you're right. It comes with a lot of that. And it's gotten you to where you are now.
Yeah. What's the word? There's a word I'm trying to think of. It's kind of the drive and determination to just keep going. Even if you're going back 2 steps, the idea is to go forward another 3.
Yep.
And you just got to keep doing it one day at a time.
Yeah. And it's okay to have those steps back,
yeah, that's right.
Those things
I mean, I
happen.
still get them.
Yeah, of
course. It was
course.
only like a couple of months ago, I was just face down on the floor going, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
It can happen to anyone.
I think that's part of being a creative, right?
That's it.
You can't always be on. It's hard.
That's right. Yeah. And I think the perception, people see everybody's social media channels and, oh, this person's doing that person's doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And wow, it's so glorified, but you don't know what goes on behind the scenes. And I've had so many downs this year, if I'm going to be honest.
Yep.
And that's just due to so many different factors that are just happening in my life right now.
Of course.
But the key thing for me is kind of going, okay, what's my why?
Yep.
And why am I going to keep going? And it's just trying to focus on that. And that's kind of what keeps you getting up every day to want to keep going. So.
And you've got to do that like internally and on your own. Like I'm assuming for the most part, when those downs happen, it's not, the ideal time for you to be like, I'm going to make content about this and tell everyone about how the shit everything's going right now. But like most people aren't going to do that. So from the outside looking in, they'd only see, oh, look, she's doing all these workshops and she's doing these meetups and all these cool jobs.
Yep.
And, behind, like all of us, like me included, there are times where days just suck, and you're overwhelmed and you're stressed or things happen. And you're not going to obviously show that online, and people just see the highlights and they think, oh man, these guys must be killing it. How they're living the dream.
Yeah.
But sharing those lows, make people understand, like when they're going through it, like it's okay, that's normal. We all do
for
that.
sure. I mean, there's an element of, exposing some of that.
Yeah, I think it's good.
I'm not going to show people how I threw a chair across the room a couple of months ago.
Yeah, fair. Yeah. Probably.
But like outside of that, it's just all about the context and the perception of where you are at the moment and what you need to do to jump back on the horse, I think, and keep going.
Do you think it's good to share those lows? Like, I think there'd be like a line you draw, right? Where it's like, okay, they don't need to know all of this.
Yeah, that's right.
But for a lot of people, it's a value, it's a benefit to know that, hey, man, like sometimes.
Yeah, and I do share quite a few things in my one-on-one sessions with some people.
Yeah.
Just because they sort of come to me with questions and concerns sometimes, and it's kind of like helping them overcome those things and understanding why and how the industry works and where you are at the moment to where you want to go. So the steps you need to take to get there.
Yes, because it's like the idea of success and goals that people have are very dependent on where they are in their career, right?
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself like successful in terms of your career right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're doing well. Do you have goals now?
Definitely, yeah.
What would they be?
I'd love to do more high-end commercial work.
Yep.
And get more involved in, just sort of bigger projects and larger sets. So if there's a way I can...
That's cool. You've got the experience there, right? When you've done it for so long.
It's kind of... I know at this point in my life I'm ready for that next step.
Yep.
And I'm just at the moment trying to figure out the how.
Yep.
How to get there. Who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to get in front of? Networking. Blasting, cold emails out to organisations and
that's awesome because it goes back to that, right?
Yeah.
Like you've got the confidence. You're like, I know I can do this. It's just like, how do I get in front of the right people?
Yeah.
And network. That's awesome. Because you took a different approach. I was like looking through it, like how you got to where you are, and like you worked at Macquarie.
I did, at the university. Yeah.
So you got hired by them, like that was a job that you had.
Yeah.
Right. And then from there, you decided to leave and start your own business.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically. I mean, Lime Blue Media it sort of came about 7 years ago.
Yep.
And
was that while you were at Macquarie?
Yeah, even before.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I was just working in retail sales at the time.
Awesome.
And I went on a ski trip, like a snow trip one year, and met this girl who worked as a photographer on the mountain. You know, they take all
that's a cool
family
job.
portraits and stuff on the mountain.
Yes.
And she's from the Netherlands. So every time I went up on the chair, snowboard down, I'd say hi to her. I should take a photo.
Yeah.
And then we just started talking, and I got to hang out with her one day. She had a day off. She's like, "Hey, Joe, do you want to go snowboarding with me? I don't know how to snowboard very well, but if you could teach me a few things." I'm like, okay. So we did that, and we sat sort of at the side of a mountain and had a long chat. And she said, "What do you want to do with yourself?" And I said, "You know what? I'm at a crossroads right now. I know what I love. I know what I don't like." I said, "I don't want to go back to what I was doing." Because I was more project managing over the years in media and stuff.
Yep.
But I always knew I loved being behind the camera.
Yep.
She said, "Just go and do what you love."
It's good advice.
Go and do what you love. And she was only young, like 22, but she was doing the whole, travel vlogging and travel tourism stuff while her and her partner were away.
Yep.
So it kind of, I don't know, just this spark just, inflamed inside me. And
you're like, damn, she's right.
Yeah, so that's when I started Lime Blue Media.
Wow.
And not long, about a couple of years after, I started building a portfolio, as we mentioned, and trying to get some freelance gigs. And then suddenly, I don't know, just someone sent me a link to the job at Macquarie Union. I thought, why not? I'll just apply. And then lo and behold, I got it.
It seems to work out for you a bit.
I think, it's just the timing, and I just always feel like if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. But when I started there, it was, again, a real confidence thing, and being intimidated by my supervisor at the time, who was like an amazing photographer. Like, his work was unbelievable, and I just had to sit there and go, how do I match this?
Yeah.
Like, what do I do? So he said something to me that I probably won't repeat.
Okay, yeah.
One day, and it literally shattered me. But I think in a good way.
Okay.
Because the type of person I am, I can take criticism. So I went, right, I can either cry about this and end it here, or I can take what he said and go to town with it, like make something of it and improve and do what I need to prove myself.
Yep.
So I took that route.
That's good.
And he actually was a really good mentor.
Yes.
In that way. It was very hard on me, but it was, I think, because he saw potential and he saw the drive that I had to want to do good and to want to be there. So he retired after about 5 months after I started, and then that role became mine.
Oh, wow.
So, it was just me for the rest of the time, and I was there for about 5 years.
Wow.
Doing all their content, and and I made it. I took a leaf from his book, but I made it my own, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So creatively, I kind of went, okay, here's some inspiration from him, and here's how I can add my flavor to that.
That's awesome.
And that's essentially why I was hired.
Yes. Yeah, of course.
Because they liked the energy and the color and the vibe from my work. And they wanted to bring that into the uni.
So you brought like a different perspective to what was there before. Wow, that's cool. I love that, because especially for creatives, when they pick up a camera, like a lot of them that I know, they don't think of getting a job or being like, they just feel like they've got to go to the freelance route, and like someone's going to just pay me to take photos with my camera. But I think there's so many benefits that come with getting a job, like working for a uni or a business or a company.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Because you get in contact with these mentors and these role models. And you also get put in situations where you have to do work that you probably wouldn't have done if you didn't have a job.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There was a lot of that there. And I think in that role, that's where a lot of my, like, I went from here to here in like 5 years.
Yeah. It's accelerated growth, right? And you're getting paid for it at the same time, like if you get a job. So that's, I try and tell people to do that too. Because you're just in an environment where you're around other, or not for you probably, but in a lot of other businesses, like you're part of a team, like there are someone creating a brief, and like you learn so much by just being in environments where people are making you shoot all the time. Whereas if you're by yourself, which is what I did, you've got to force yourself to do all the work. Like if you don't feel like working, you don't work and you fall behind, and you don't progress as quickly as you probably could if you're in an environment where you had to just work every single day.
Yeah, that's right. It just comes back to, like I always say, repetition.
Yeah, you would have gotten all the reps. Like if you got a job like Monday to Friday or whatever those hours are,
like
you're working
12-hour days.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas like there's a lot of freelance people that if they don't feel like working, like you've really got to self-motivate. And if you're not that type of person, you really slow down your progress.
Yep.
Yeah. While you were doing that job, so you still had kind of Lime Blue on the side.
Yep.
At what point did you think that was something that you could do on your own and leave the uni? Was there like a moment where you're like, I think I need to move on?
Yeah, it just got to a point where how do you say it? It's like you hit a ceiling somewhere, and you could either be doing the same thing, like I could sort of look at the next 12 months and kind of go, I know exactly what I'm going to be doing.
Yes.
And it also got to a point where I'd be shooting in the same rooms every year. And every year I'd go, cool, I'm back here again. Yep. How can I do it better?
Mm-hmm. But you can only do that so many times, right? Yep. It's crazy because I won't say the place or anything, but I went to work for a place when I first started out because I wanted to be around people. I wanted to be around mentors and people that were doing what I thought I wanted to do. And I remember getting this job and I went there, and the guy that I kind of looked up to and wanted to be, he hated his job. He hated his job. And I was like, I don't understand. Like, why are you so miserable? And he's like, because I'm in the same place every single day and I've been doing it for years. And there's only so many different ways you can shoot the exact same thing.
Yep.
And so like it was fun for him for a while, but then he'd obviously reached that ceiling, and he stayed there. And it got to the point where it was like, I'm so over this. And to me, I was like, this looks like the dream job. Yeah. But I think it depends on where you are in your career. For someone starting out or who's not there yet, that's great. But you can only be there for so long until you take the next step, right?
Yep.
Was it scary?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hell scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was petrified. Not going to lie. Yeah, but it's, again, you trying to have that faith and confidence in yourself to be able to go, yeah, I can do this.
Starting Lime Blue, like transitioning from Macquarie to doing Lime Blue on your own, were there challenge? Like when you left and you're like, I'm going to do this on my own, what was the initial goal? Did you have goals then?
I kind of, obviously you have goals to, try and make it work, but it was just more about trying to get the business going. Mm-hmm. So you got to sort of learn the business side of it, marketing, all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
So a lot of my time went into that.
Mm-hmm. And that's what a lot of creatives don't really understand when they're first starting out, right? No. They don't have those skills. They haven't learnt those skills like those. We were talking about it last week. It's like when you start becoming a freelance or you start charging people for your work, like you've started a business. And if you don't have the business skills, same thing, people don't know you exist. Like who's going to ask to work with you if they don't know you exist? And that's just marketing and advertising and sharing your work and networking and putting it out there. If you don't have those skills, it doesn't matter how great of a creative you are, like it's going to be an uphill battle to try and be successful.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So they're skills that you would have had to have learned which again, right? It's like they become your goals at that time of your career. It's like, man, this is what happened to me. It's like I've got to learn all these things now. Once I've established those skills and gained those new skills, then the next goal is like, all right, now how can I work with like these big commercial products and those next goals? But you have to get those things in line first if you want to go to that next step.
Yeah, that's right.
I think about that stuff all the time. I think it's the same. It translates back to from when I was a PT. It's the same thing. Lots of like really good PTs, really smart PTs, but they couldn't really sell anything. And then the ones that could sell were the ones that were doing really well, even though they weren't as knowledgeable.
Yeah. No, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, which happens a lot here. What else do you think carried over from your tennis career to here?
Wow. Man, I could probably write a book on that.
Yeah, I imagine. Because I watch tennis and it looks like such a mental game more than anything.
Yeah, they used to say it's 80% mental, 20%. I
totally agree. From watching it, it's just, it looks like they're going through so much in their head.
Yep.
During those matches. Like most of it, and you hear the commentators talk about it too, like it's all just what's going on in their head and trying to ride the waves. Like there's ups and downs in a game and it's like trying to keep you cool the whole way through and not get too frustrated when things aren't going your way. I can imagine there'd be a lot of lessons you'd learn from tennis.
Heaps. Yeah, I mean, it's even just on that point, just taking from, things not going your way and then sort of keeping level-headed to be able to go, right, I need to sort of pivot or make a change or do something to sort of steer me back on track. And that's within like one game, for example. Yeah. But when I translate that into what I'm doing now, it's cool. Okay, I didn't get that job. Okay, cool. What am I going to do? What's next?
Yeah.
Rather than crying about it all day.
Yes.
It's like trying to then pivot and go, okay, this didn't work. You know, when you apply for jobs or clients and you give them quotes, for example, and they're like, oh, we found somebody else. Okay, cool. Yeah, you feel like crap, disappointed. But at the same time, you're like, okay, that's cool. Wasn't right for me. Where's my next move? Well, how do I pivot?
Yep.
And keep going.
Yes.
Because you could just it's easy to sort of fall over and just lose everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in tennis matches that I've played in semis and finals where I've been up, doing good. A few things happen, and then you just sort of in your head go, oh my gosh, it's all falling apart. Yeah. And it falls apart because you let it. And then you end up losing the match. And then you dwell on it for like weeks because it was a critical match in a critical tournament. Yes. So it's I think the same thing with business. You know, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. And with tennis, it took me, I lost count about how many matches I would lose while I was building myself up before I started winning. So every match I'd take a lesson from it and go, okay, I had a really great coach at the time. She was just the best mentor, and part of who I am today is because of her. Oh God, I'm getting emotional. Yeah. But she just taught me not only things on the court, but off the court as well. Yes. So I found that all very valuable and just life lessons, and then you're able to sort of translate that into just everyday life and business. Yeah, they carry over. Yeah. A lot of those heaps things. Of it does. And it's only in the last, I say like 4 or 5 years that I've really understood that and realised that, you know, although that part of me's gone in a way, it's still quite there. It's still very much there, and I'm still, it's funny, like someone said, you're still an athlete, Joe. Like it's still inside you. I just had to adapt it into a different career path.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like those traits are still there.
That's right.
That drive, a lot of it can carry over to what
there's people that obviously now just know me as the camera girl.
Yes.
But don't actually know that I ever played or was an elite athlete.
At a very high level, right?
Yeah. And they didn't know anything about me. And it's just something I never really talked about. And I'm just
Why is that? Because of how it
Yeah, it's just because of what happened, I guess.
Yeah.
Had a car accident and lost had to learn to walk again and things like that. So
wow, so it was a scary one.
Yeah. But it's kind of you look at it and go, oh, there's 20 years of my life just gone that I put so much hard work into to get to the top. And okay, what am I going to do with myself now? So I think the goal for me was I just couldn't do mediocre because I was so used to doing something that not everybody did.
Yeah.
And the thrill and the excitement from that for me was something I just thrived on. And obviously from such a young age doing that.
When did you start playing tennis?
When I was 6.
Wow.
And then that's ingrained in you from that age. So that's all you know.
Wow.
And then you come out of that and you're like, what do I do with myself? Like 20 years old going, what do I do with my life?
Hard to imagine,
so you just try and go and find something that you're passionate about again. Because I just couldn't do an office job.
Not easy to do, right?
No. That's why it took me a good solid 10 to 15 years to try and really get to that point where I'm, at a similar place to where I was when I was at my peak in tennis.
Yep. Where you feel like just as passionate and driven.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
You love what you're doing.
Yep.
Do you think that if that hadn't happened, like if tennis didn't go the way it went, that you'd be a creative at the level that you are now? Probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah.
No, because my career path would have been different.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Sometimes things work out in weird ways.
Yeah, that's right. That's that saying that everything happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's that. You just look at it and go, well, although that was still, I could still argue and say that was still the best part of my life. But,
well, you're not who you are today if you don't go through all that.
Yeah, that's it.
You know? You learn so much. I grew up in sports too. I played basketball.
Yeah, nice.
And so many lessons, man. Like, very similar. Obviously not at your level, but there's so many. Like, I played every day through high. Like, I didn't study nothing. It was just 7 days. My whole life was just play. I didn't care about anything else. And same, man. It's like so many lessons. Like the work you put in is like the work you get out. Like, you don't get picked for teams if you don't put in the work.
Yeah, that's right.
You knew that the guys that were there, they're doing all the boring work. Like, they're playing by themselves when no one else is. They go to all the training sessions. They turn up before school, train at 6 a.m. Like, they're the guys that are doing the work. They do the boring work. Like, I remember I always used to hate using my left hand. Because you can't dribble, right? I'm probably similar to tennis, right? Using like your offhand. And I was so bad and I avoided it all the time. But I'm like, that's where you separate yourself from the other people. You do the work that like they're not willing to do. So the guys that are learning how to, even though it sucks for so long, they then get better with their left hand. Now they've got a skill that the others don't have. Now they start standing out. Like, that's something small, but there's so many other aspects of the game that a lot of people overlook because it's probably not the flashy part of it. But if you do it and you take the time to do all those boring things that the other guys aren't going to do, you're going to stand out so much more. And that's something that happens in the creative world too. There's especially in video editing, there's so many things where like, wow, that guy is so good, but it's because he does or she does all those little things, those tedious little edits that probably no one's going to notice, but they do, and they've built all these skills up that most people aren't willing to do. Yeah,
that's right. They're all the things that make up all those elements of the edit.
Yeah, exactly.
That make it seamless.
And even photography too.
Yeah.
There are times you look and like, how does this person make these photos look so great? And they understand composition and lighting, like all those things that most people probably don't like. They would look at it and think that's like in the too hard basket.
Yeah.
Right. Like learning lighting was something that I avoided for so long. Everything I did was, I was like trying to shoot outdoors every time. It was like, that was my idea. I was like, guys, I think we should shoot outside, just because I wanted to avoid learning how to use lights for like the first 2 years of shooting.
Oh, it's so much fun.
Yeah. Once you get into it. Right. Yeah. But initially things that are scary or feel overwhelming.
Yeah.
The longer you avoid them, the longer it's going to take for you to like gain those skills.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, man. It's very cool. It's very cool. I love it. So, yeah, tennis was a big part of your life, but you kind of you're happy with the way things have turned out.
Yeah, I think so. It's like at this point, I can't see myself doing anything else.
Man, yeah. You also do. I saw that like I don't know if you have intentionally created like a niche, but like you're the sports. Outdoors, a lot of your work is that. When you were creating your portfolio, like when you said at the beginning, were you intentionally doing that? Like you wanted to be that person?
I think so, yeah. It's this kind of took me a long time to accept my situation, what happened.
Yep.
Because it's like a big loss, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to have anything to do with it for so long. So once I got around to accepting it and I picked up the camera and I was getting better at it, I kind of went, I still love sport. I still love what it brings and what it stands for people and how it brings people and communities together.
True.
Doesn't matter where you're from. You know, it's just something that I'm passionate about, and I thought if I can mash the two together, my love for sport, my love for, creating content now, that would sort of be ideal. And, what more could I want?
Yep.
If, that you're saying like my idea of success, that would definitely be an idea of success.
Yeah, got it. So you're able to like bring those two worlds together. Which is something I don't think a lot of people realize. Like, find the things that, in terms of longevity, we were talking about enjoyment. Like, you create the things that you enjoy creating, especially when you're building that portfolio. Like, you get identified as the work that you share. So at the beginning, when you're creating a portfolio, like say you like sports, create that portfolio based around sports, and people eventually will identify you as like the sports creative. Or it could be gyms or fashion, whatever it is. Yep. Like that portfolio is important at the beginning because you get work based on what you build that around.
Yeah.
That's something that I didn't realize when I first started. I was just trying to shoot with whoever wanted to shoot with me. And I was doing all sorts of things, like cars one day, beach another day, gym, and like it was just so confusing. And then people like didn't really know what it was. There was a point where I was shooting gyms a lot because all my friends were PTs.
Yep.
So they were like, come and shoot me at the gym. And I did that for a few months. Then everyone was calling me the fitness photographer, and I didn't want to be the fitness photographer. And that's when it hit me. I was like, whatever I shoot, people are going to identify me as that. So I got rid of all the fitness content, and I started like really thinking, like trying to have the forethought to think, all right, what do I want to get paid for?
Yep.
And now, okay, who should I be doing like this work for? So you're trying to build a portfolio, you're just hitting people up for free work, but a lot of it became intentional. And it's like, I want to get paid for this type of work, so let's do this. And whenever I did any sort of like collaboration with someone, I'm like, cool, let's do like what you want, but I need these shots because this is what I want my portfolio to represent.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, I always tell people, there's people that have asked me, like, what kind of portfolio should I?
Yeah.
I don't know where to start. I said, just firstly, you got to try a few different things to see what you actually like.
True.
Because that's the first thing, I think, because it's like you don't know what you like at the start.
Until you do it, right?
Until you actually do it. You might go, oh, my God, I love the idea of weddings, let's say, or corporate.
True.
And then you get there and you do it and you're like, oh, this is just... Weddings is too stressful, too many bridezillas.
Yeah.
And then you get to the corporate and you're like, oh, my God, these people are so it's just boring or there's no flavor to it and you're not enjoying it, then at that point that's not for you. And then you can dabble in something else.
True. What would you say, if I was to ask you a question, because this is, say they were corporate and you're like, man, this is so boring. Like, I really don't like this, but they're paying me so well. What would you do?
Personally?
Yeah.
I mean, I've done plenty of corporate gigs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still part of my offering. I actually, personally, I guess it comes back to that point you made on being scared to use lights. Like, I thrive on that now. So when I have a corporate gig, I did one a few months ago.
Yep.
I love setting up for an interview.
Yeah, okay.
I will make it look...
Yep.
I'll try and make it look cinematic if I can, because the idea for me is, okay, this is a boring situation. We got dude in a suit talking to camera, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And I want to make this look epic.
Yeah, that's cool.
And that's kind of what drives me.
It's a good attitude.
So it's not about, cool, the money's a bonus, of course. You want to get paid, and that's fantastic. But then at the same time, it's like turning, something that's mundane into something that's actually interesting. Because you got to also think, like, your audience, like, who's the audience? And you don't want to put someone in front of a white wall and let them talk for, 2-3 minutes. You want to actually give it some flavor, and I think for me, that's my vibe and my style and approach is that I can't just have it against a white wall or a black backdrop. If I do, there's got to be an intention, and I got to light it a certain way to make it pop.
Yep.
Just so that people looking at it actually enjoy what they're looking at, or go, "Oh, this is nice."
That's
and you have B-roll and footage to accommodate the narrative.
Yes.
For that video. So there's not just a talking head.
That's cool. So when you have these jobs, like I feel like you've done this long enough to have the confidence to like suggest all these things.
Oh yeah.
Like if you rock up to a corporate and they've got a guy like a chair in front of a white wall, you'd be like, hey, like I've got this suggestion. We're not doing that.
Get out of
there. Yeah, I'm gonna fix this up. Which is good. And the thing is, a lot like what I was saying, like people trying to avoid like the boring jobs, there are opportunities for you to learn. By taking those, like you're getting paid and you're getting the opportunity to set up lights and do these in your own way, and you gain skills by doing those that you can then carry over to other work.
That's a lot of what I learnt at my job at Macquarie Uni.
Yeah.
Was so many things that were so mundane that we just had to do. Yep. And I'd sit there and go, okay, well, how can I make this room look better? Or this interview in this situation give it a bit of life,
True.
And that became the challenge, and then that in turn became my motive to learn cinematic lighting and get better at that, because essentially for me, if you can understand light and how it works, then that's literally photography and video.
Yes. Correct.
At the heart and at the core. That's what it is essentially. So if you can learn to master that understanding, then that's where your work will be separated from everybody else's.
Yeah. Would you have that like pretty high up in terms of, I feel like when you start off as a creative, there's so much to learn. Like there is so much, and it becomes overwhelming, and you don't know where to start. It's like you just don't know. And it's like what's the one thing to focus on that's really going to, accelerate or level up my creativity? Would you say lighting's probably up there?
100%.
Yeah.
It's the thing is, you could have a really shitty camera, right?
Yep.
Something so basic from 10 years ago, whatever it is, right? And if you light something a certain way, you'll still get a nice image out of the camera.
I agree.
But you can still have a camera that's worth $10,000. But if your lighting is non-existent, you're going to get a mundane image.
Yes.
So it's kind of that's why a lot of people, what's that saying that's out there that creators say, use the camera you've got. Like a long time ago, I never really understood that. Like, but there was all these other cool cameras and things. Why wouldn't you want the best technology? But it's not until I actually started learning light and color and understanding it, like really trying to understand it, is that when I went, okay, well, it's not always about the gear that you use. It's obviously it helps.
Yep.
But when you're first starting out, you got to just go with the basics and understand the concepts to then build on that. Because I said to someone, this was just recently in probably my one-to-one sessions, you gotta look at where you are on the in the journey. So if you had like a straight line, here's beginner, here's like elite content, commercial level work. Where are you on the spectrum? Because if you're sort of here, you just got your camera, you're doing it a little bit and you're dabbling. I said your goal at that point is to just create a piece of work that the end user can see, that your audience can see, and that the client can use.
Yep.
So you just want to create something end to end, basic.
Yep.
And in that process, you're learning to understand the concepts of, basic camera techniques, settings, audio, things like that at the most basic level. Once you've mastered that with the camera you've got, you'll know when you need to upgrade.
Yep.
Because you've outgrown what you've got.
You've reached the ceiling.
That's right.
About,
So then from there, you might go, cool, I'm going to upgrade to this type of camera. And then you'll start to go, right, I've got this camera now. It can give me these features and these sorts of benefits that the other one couldn't. Now I want to learn how to do this or shoot and log or something like that and learn color grading. And that's your next step. Then you'll go, okay, cool. Now I want to actually introduce some lighting. And then you're on that spectrum, right? And you're kind of moving along.
Yes.
Because you can't start here and then go, cool, I need to be a master at camera work, settings, lighting, audio.
It gets overwhelming. You think you're never going to...
You'll just dig yourself a grave and like jump right in.
Yeah, it looks scary.
That's right.
Like, there's no way. That's funny. You literally just explained like my whole journey. Like when I first started, I'm like, that's exactly what had happened to me.
Yeah. But the thing is, it happens to everyone. And just having spoken to a lot of people and people asking for advice, it's probably the one thing that I see a lot of. They'll look at someone like me or yourself and kind of go, oh wow, they're doing this and they're creating this. I want to do that.
They want to be there straight away.
It's not going to happen. Yep. It's just not going to happen straight away. Like it needs time. And then it's also what you specialize in. And I know people that shoot weddings, but they don't know how to shoot corporate. I know people that, I don't know, do real estate, for example, and they don't use these sorts of lighting setups because their work doesn't require it. But they're brilliant at what they do in that particular niche.
So even shooting outdoor in sports, like that's a whole different world. Like shutter speeds and knowing how to shoot everything the right way.
That's right. And
completely
then
different.
Outdoor versus indoor.
Yeah.
Which is then completely different.
Yeah, you've really got to know your camera set. Like it takes like one experience of like shooting sports to realize how hard it actually is.
Yeah, it is. It's also, I mean, like personally, I obviously grew up playing sport and now being behind the camera, I can look at most sports and kind of go, okay, that aesthetic looks good. Like when someone knows how to play or has a style or flair
Yes.
Because you have had the experience yourself to understand what that looks like.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So in order to then capture a really good shot, it requires you, obviously it helps to understand the sport and then be in the right positioning and then also anticipating what's going to happen in the play.
It's big in sports, right?
That's huge.
Yeah.
And that's, again, what separates, and that's something that I obviously had to learn, and I'm still learning. Like, it's not just, I can shoot sport now, I'm done. There's so many more things that I can get my head around to get even better. So
yeah, sports is huge because you've got to be in the right. And the thing is, you can't tell them to do it again.
No,
you know what I mean?
not at all.
Hey guys, that was really good. Can we just do that one more time because I've missed it?
Yeah, that's right. So you always have to be like probably as focused as what the play is happening as the athletes.
True. Yeah.
In those sort of situations.
It almost is like you're in the game because you can miss opportunities.
Yeah, that's right.
And you're like, man, I can just imagine like after they'd be like, hey Joe, did you get that when I did the thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, no, bro.
Yeah, I've had bit of that shooting Unisport Nationals.
Yeah.
It's
like the highlight, the climax of the whole thing. Joe, you got it right.
It's good. Yeah, it's good fun. But that's, again, part of the challenge.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I could shoot portraits for days. Probably without thinking.
Yeah, of course. Well, that's what I have in my shoot. Like in, I think almost every shoot I'm like, okay, we're going to do this like 5 times. So I hope you're ready. Like, I'm just going to get a different angle, do this.
Yeah,
okay, do it again for me.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to move over here. Let me get the exact same thing from over here. It's all I'm in control of everything.
Yeah.
Whereas in sports, you don't have that luxury.
Yeah, that's right. So it's just, a big part of it is anticipating the play and where things are going to happen. You just got to be observant of your surroundings as well and what's happening. So I kind of tell people you got to keep one eye on the camera and the other eye outside to see what's going on.
Yeah, true. You're right though, because that's something that the people may not be, because you can be good at so many other things. You can be a great wedding photographer or content creator because that's what you know. You've done hundreds of weddings.
Yep.
And then you go and do a sports event and you might suck. So it all depends on what you want to be good at.
Yep.
And sometimes if you say you really want to be a wedding photographer, there's no need to learn certain other skills. I mean, there probably is to some degree, but there are certain skills that are more beneficial for you now if that's the career path you want to go on. And at the beginning, it's figuring out what you want to do.
Yeah, that's it. It's, I guess, what it comes down to. And there's no harm in just dabbling in a whole lot of things just till you can sort of figure it out.
Yeah.
And find what you like and what you're passionate about and what kind of content that you actually like to create.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so a lot of things I actually like to do. I mean, like 4 different niches for me, and it's...
What's your favourite? Sports?
I do love sport, yeah.
Yep.
It's good. It's...
I saw you did the Matildas.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's been like your highlight?
Ooh. I mean, that was pretty good.
That was pretty good?
Yeah.
I was watching.
It was very fast and very unpredictable and very challenging, I'd say. But I guess for me, that's what I think I thrive on the challenges.
Yep.
Because
something that's hard.
It kind of takes me back to just those moments I had on the tennis court and figured like if I can get through this, then I can get through the next thing. And I think that's where that sort of mentality comes from. It's like I've had some friends and people go, Joe, you've got such determination and drive, like, but they never knew that I played elite sport before.
That's where it comes from.
And I say, I don't know, just, do my thing. And
inside you're like so driven and determined. And just
look, when I talk to people now and people that are in my circle now, I open up and kind of go, hey, yeah, look, this was my life.
It's good
this
too,
is what
though.
I did. Because for a long time I didn't.
Yeah.
And there were friends and people that knew me for so long that didn't know anything about that part of me.
Yeah.
And I just kept it that way because I just didn't want to, I guess, feel that disappointment again. again, it's just something you just have to overcome and accept and go, all right, it happened. It's a shit go, but
it is a shit go.
Here we are now.
Yep.
I can either stay where I am and cry, or I can try and push forward and figure out what's next.
Yep.
And I just sort of chose to do that, and I think that was just based on the sort of person I became as a result of having been an athlete. That drive and passion to just keep going.
Yep.
Yeah.
Man, that's such a cool story, because I can't even imagine, because I loved playing as well. And like to go through something that you went through, that'd be hard, because it's just, you have no choice. You just get hit with it.
Yeah.
So I can totally understand why you'd like not want to talk about it or share it. It's like you just want to forget it.
Yeah, that's right.
But I guess being in a position where you are now, where like you're actually in a role where you mentor people, you do workshops, people look to you for advice. I think it's so valuable it's not easy, but to get to a place where you can show people, hey man, like I've been through so much, and you can still make anything out of, like, regardless of what life throws at you.
Yeah.
You can still make something out of it. You might need to change course. Like most people can't, like, just to have one thing that they're great at. That didn't go its way. And now look at where you are now with your creative career. I think there are a lot of traits that you have that a lot of people can take from. Because like you said, life sucks for a lot of us sometimes.
Yeah.
And you can either like cry about it, and a lot of the times it derails people and they literally just stop, and they never reach their potential because they let setbacks really get to them.
Yeah.
So it's good to share that, like, you can have like the worst of setbacks and still figure out a way to still do great things.
Yeah. Yep. No, that's definitely, I think, it just became, like, even just thinking about it now, it's like, I just don't want to live a mediocre life. Because it's just, I started off amazingly. I don't want to sort of finish. I'm at a halfway point now in my life.
Yep.
Age-wise, I'd say.
We both are, right?
It's kind of,
you're
like at that sort of crossroads of like, oh my God, okay, so this much time has gone by. Here's what I've done with it. What's my next, 30 whatever plus years going to look like? I don't want it to just be something average, because life threw shit at me and I just want to quit.
Yeah, that's true, right? Do you feel like you've got that excuse? Like you can always go, like if you wanted to, no one's going to make you feel bad, because like you can pull that card out whenever you want if you really wanted to, and just being like, hey man, I've been dealt a bad, like no one's going to.
Yeah. I
right?
see what you mean, yeah.
Do you see what I mean? But internally, you've just gone, no, that's not good enough. I'm not going to settle for average just because something's happened to me, which is not an easy mindset to have.
No, I think a friend of mine keeps saying I'm too stubborn.
Yeah, but stubborn's a good thing.
Yeah.
Stubborn's a great thing
sometimes.
Stubborn
in certain ways.
Yeah, yeah. Well, not settling for average, which is I listen to a lot of people online as well, and that's something that resonates with me too. I heard a guy say like that no one ever aspires to be average. Like when you're a kid, no one aspires to have an average career or an average income or an average anything. So like, why should you settle for average if it's not what you aspire for?
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, I know a lot of people who have jobs. They go to work, they come home, but every time I talk to them or catch up, they're not happy. And I'm like, okay, what is it? Oh, I just hate work. I don't want to go to work today. Work.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, would you try something else? No, I got to pay bills. No. And it's just this whole, like, I don't know what you'd call it. Like a
defeated
society, defeated kind of mentality. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. There's days where I just kind of go, oh, what am I doing?
Same.
Happens, right?
Same,
Happens to the best of us. And then you just sort of go, okay, how can I make it work? What's my next step? And just sort of keep trying to push through rather than, I mean, I could easily go and get some boring old job and go, right, that's it.
Yep.
Quit everything. But I just don't feel like I want to do that right now. I want to like really give this a go. I've gotten to this far. It's taken me 10 years plus to get to here.
Yeah.
And I've put in all of that effort again.
Yep.
Like I don't want to just lose it.
That's true. I think that way too. Like you've put in all this work to get this far. It's almost like you can't. It's like there's like I can't stop it.
Yeah.
I've gone too far. Like you reach a point and you just have to keep going. But it works out for you.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's working out for you.
Let's hope it keeps going.
Yeah. It will. And I definitely I have to come to one of your works. How often do you run them?
Oh, every month.
Every month.
Yeah. I've got probably one more. Actually, what day is it today? This Sunday.
Thursday. This Sunday.
I'm doing an end of year creators party.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's really
You must have met so many cool people like doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's great. Even at within Sony as well.
I was going to say that was one thing that I did want to bring up. What's Kando like?
Kando, I can't describe it in words, but it's the most amazing experience.
Yeah.
That someone like us could go to.
Yep.
It's just literally a whole sort of 3-4 days purposely created and organized for us to be able to create content and have the best time.
It looks incredible.
And it's just such a cool thing that Sony do to bring all of us ambassadors, advocates and influencers together from across Australia and New Zealand.
What's that like, meeting all those other people?
Oh, it's inspiring.
Yeah, I can imagine. It'd be surreal.
You're just in a room full of people that are at that same level and at that same point as you are, and the one thing that is common is that we're all just so passionate about it, and then that just fills the room up.
Yeah,
because you could just
that energy would be crazy. Just being around all those people that have similar interests, you all can relate to each other. Yeah, and you're all really good at what you do. Yeah, it's a good vibe, and I'm really I'm just grateful to be part of a community like that. Man, very cool, very cool. I love the networking that you'd reach there. You'd learn so much that obviously you'd be able to then bring back to the workshops. Yeah, that's right. And pass on to people as well. Yep. People need to come to your workshops. You did a photo walk recently as well? Yeah, that was with my buddy Clyde. Shout out to Clyde. Shout out to Clyde. We've brought up Clyde on the podcast before. Oh, did you? Yeah. Yeah, he's great. We try and partner together to do co-host workshops together. That's cool. So you reach out to these other guys that are advocates as well? And try we can definitely do co-host workshops together and cool. Come up, hey, I got this idea in mind. Do you want to collab? And then host it together. Yep. And we've done a few of them, Clyde and I, and it's really fun. It's a lot of fun because you then bounce off each other as well, and people then get the chance to talk to both of us. Yep. And it's Do you see that's a good opportunity? Like, do you see people that turn up that meet new people within those events? Yes, that's right. Is there a lot of that happening? Yeah. Like, I assume that would be such a good opportunity if you're a creator that doesn't really know anyone. When I first started, I didn't know anyone for a long time. These events seem like a great way to meet other creators that are on your level too, that are just starting out. I think some of them even hang out now and for sure, like get together and do their own stuff or contact each other and go, hey, what do you think of this? Or, exactly. That would feel so good. To be able to hold an event where you're giving people that opportunity. That was one of my biggest struggles when I first started out. Oh, okay, I didn't know anyone. I knew absolutely no other creative, and it was something I really wanted to do for so long. I actually got, I don't know if you might know her because she's a Sony advocate, Vienna Marie. Yeah, Vienna. She was doing like a mentorship at the time. I found it online. And I took on her mentorship. Like, you did a call with her once a week for, I think it's 12 weeks or something. Oh, wow. Okay. All I wanted was to talk to another creator. That's all I wanted. Yeah. And every week we'd call, and it was like, I looked forward to it so much because it was the only time of the week I could talk to someone who kind of understood what I was going through.
Yeah.
And it meant so much to me. Like just to be able to talk to someone, tell them what I'm going through, and like they just got it. I just think it means so much to have other people that do what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure.
And maybe you take it for granted because you're just around creatives all the time. But people that are just starting out, when I first started, I didn't have anyone. And I found that was my biggest obstacle.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, I mean, that's, I guess, what Sony are trying to do.
Yeah, I think it's
have us
great.
on board.
I think it's so
in
good.
that way to sort of build a community and get people together, and we get to teach them a few tricks.
Yeah, you get to learn. Like you get to learn. You get to meet other people. You get to network. That same energy that you got at Kando, I'm sure a lot of these people are getting at these events in a similar way.
Yeah, no, it's a good. I think it's a good thing. Like for me, I guess the biggest thing for me, just applying to the advocate program was, yes, getting out of my comfort zone. Yes, it'll be cool. But I wanted to sort of give back to the community, because I had a great mentor when I was at uni. And he worked in the sort of OH&S loans department. He's kind of the guy that sat, in a corner in his own little room, and he'd pop his head out every now and again.
Yeah.
And we found out he did short films. He created short films.
Wow.
He was a filmmaker.
He's the person you'd least expect.
Yeah. And I was fortunate enough to, me and another friend of mine, get on to one of his sets and help him out, just learn from him, from one of our short films.
That's cool.
We entered short film festivals.
How did you go about? Did you just ask him?
Yeah, I mean, we started talking.
Yeah.
And when I found out he knew all the things, I was like, oh my God, I want to know more.
Yeah,
teach me more.
Man.
And his whole persona and just
he wanted to help.
Knowledge, yeah. He was such a great. He just inspired the hell out of me. And a lot of my influence, I'd say still to this day, even though I've adapted it, it's come from him and his style of filming.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, Rob. Yeah.
Rob's awesome.
Yeah. I just don't, if it weren't for him, I don't think I would have had the same level of passion in
when
filmmaking.
You see someone else.
Yeah. So I took that all on board and just ran with it, and over time learnt more and adapted and made it my own. And but doing when I looked at the Sony Advocate program, I was just like, I wonder if I could ever be that kind of person.
Yeah, to someone else.
Yeah.
True. So, especially when you realize how much someone has affected like your career and done for you.
Yeah.
That's true. You do feel like, man, if someone did that to me, I could be the same for someone else.
Yeah.
And also just not being afraid to reach out. Like you said, like you asked, like, how can I help you? How can I be around you more? A lot of people are scared to ask someone because they're like, oh, they're not going to have time for me. They're probably too busy. They're too big for me.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, these people want to give back. Like they want to help out. And you shouldn't be afraid to ask for help or ways to help out or just be around. Because I think a lot of people do, like it feels good to be asked to be able to help someone out.
Yeah, for sure.
Some people are just afraid
if you can, I'd say it's a good thing. Because it's just, I mean, I don't know. I've always been the type of person to help other people, whether it's, through professional career stuff or just personal life, like just with friends or whatever. I'm always that sort of loyal, sort of helping hand kind of person. So maybe...
You think it's because you've been through so much as well? It's like, man, I know when...
I think so.
Yeah.
Because if I have friends or people that come to me with an issue or a problem, or it could be anything, right? I kind of get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
It's like there was a time I needed someone to
kind of thing. I know what it's like.
Yeah.
And whether it's, something stupid with your family or whether it's something...
Yeah. To them, it's a big deal.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to listen and, if there's any advice I can offer, I'm happy to just offer it, take it or leave it, you know.
Yes. No, very cool.
Yeah.
Dude, I love everything that you've shared. This has been what about Lime Blue? What do you do at Lime Blue? How can someone who would be able to benefit from working with Lime Blue? Who do you help?
Who do I help? Any sort of sporting agency, outdoor brands, automotive as well. So
you like your cars, don't you?
I love cars. Yeah,
I've seen.
I think I grew up with my brothers and
and you're good at it too. It's not easy to do.
Yeah,
I've shot cars before and I'm like, not easy. You think it's cool. I'm like, oh, it's a car. How can it not be cool?
It's a fine art.
Yep.
I'm still actually learning. So.
Same. Even just action like driving, cars drive. It's not an easy thing to do.
Yep.
To get it looking good.
Yeah.
It's like you get the shutter speed wrong. I was the first time, like, cars driving so fast, like, if you get the wrong shutter speed, I remember putting it like really, really high and I'm like, it looks like it's parked.
Yeah, the wheel doesn't turn.
The wheel doesn't turn. Yeah. It just looks like it's parked there. And I'm like, no, but it was like so cool at the time. And that's just me not understanding how to shoot it.
Yep. But then again, that just comes back to
experience.
What we were talking about before, like understanding what you're doing.
Yeah.
That niche and kind of understanding how to shoot it and what to look for.
Yeah.
And then that, again, will determine what settings you use.
Exactly.
I've got a mate of mine, we used to hire him out for to help us out at Macquarie. We had some freelancers to help us out there at the uni. He did video, but every time he sees my sport photography stuff, he's messaging me straight away. What shutter speed did you use?
Yeah.
What was this setting?
Exactly. That's the benefit of like working with you guys then, right?
But he's like this great videographer.
Yeah,
knows
exactly.
his stuff.
Yep.
But when it comes to photos, it's like, there's this thing. How did she do it?
Yes.
What was the settings?
Exactly.
Because it's, again, a different niche to what he does.
Yep.
So he's great at what he does. But then this is like a different thing. So he'll kind of go, ooh, what is that?
and I think that's something that people who aren't creative, like, I think for the majority, like our clients, don't understand. Like for me, they just hit me up and they're like, you're the video guy. Like, just make me a video of, like, I want a wedding video. I'm like, I don't do weddings.
Yeah, always.
And they just they just think because you make videos, you can do anything. Whereas, like, if someone hit me up for sports, like, they don't know that there's a difference between hiring you and hiring me, because I wouldn't know what I'm doing. I haven't shot sports before.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. But they're like, Kenny, you're the video guy. Surely you can just shoot my basketball game.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're going to get so much better footage from someone who actually shoots sports all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rather than just hitting up. And a lot of people think that someone's a photographer or a camera person, they can just shoot anything. It's all the same.
Yep.
And they don't realize that, like, you've really got to be good at what you're doing. And then if you want something to be done well, you should ask someone that actually has experience in what you're asking to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. No, that does go a long way.
Yeah. Which is great. Well, thank you for coming on. Thanks for sharing so much. Honestly.
Oh, that's okay. Thanks for having me on.
No, I love it. I feel before you came on, I was like, I feel like I've got like the perfect guest.
Really?
Yeah, really. Because I'm like, I've made this podcast specifically to try and help beginner creatives. Well, basically, what I see is like when people are like, who are you trying to help? And if you're trying to be specific with who you're helping, it's usually like you 5 years earlier. So that's me 5 years ago, I was just starting it. Everything I talk about is like through my own experiences. Because I don't know who's behind there, right? So I'm just picturing, what would I have wanted to listen to 5 years when I was first starting out? When I had Vienna as a mentor, all those things that I wanted to learn that I didn't know, I was asking her because I didn't know anyone else. Right. I didn't have a podcast to listen to. I didn't have these workshops to go to. I just paid Vienna, and every week I just come with all these problems that I had because I just didn't know any better.
Yep.
So when I try and like bring any value, all I'm doing is trying to bring value to me 5 years ago when I first started out.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then I was like going through and looking at everything that you've done. I'm like, she holds all these workshops. She's a Sony advocate, like all the things that people aspire to be. And you're a mentor to people. You're a mentor to the people that I'm trying to reach as well. So I'm like, you're pretty much there. You give advice to these people all the time. You hold workshops for these exact same people. I'm like, she's exactly the person that would fit in perfectly. And you've over delivered.
Oh, wow. Excellent. Okay.
Yeah, you've done great. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I hope you just keep going, man. Like, you're doing great. Love the story. I wasn't even expecting half of it.
Okay.
Yeah, which is good.
You sent me a lot of questions, and I looked at them all, and I'm like studying it. I'm in the bathroom. I had it there with me while I'm doing my hair. Okay, what's this question? All right, what am I going to say?
You answered them all really, really well. And I got to come down to one of your workshops. I will.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I promise to. I'll make time for it. And I just look forward to seeing you do more.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe.
Hope you got something out of it.
Got plenty. I got plenty. Yeah. Thanks so much.
No worries.
Good stuff.
Peace.
We did it.